Imagine this: a simple maid walks into a billionaire's room and screams, "Don't drink it!" What happens next will shock you. Welcome to Story Sphere. When it was E's turn to testify, she wore a simple dress that Kofi had bought for her. She walked to the witness stand with her head held high. She was no longer the frightened village girl who first came to the city. She had found her strength. She had found her voice. She swore on the Bible to tell the truth. And then she told the whole story in clear words that everyone could understand. Essie described how she saw Amma pour the white powder into the tea. She described running to stop Kofi from drinking it. She described screaming, "Don't drink it!" even though she was terrified. The courtroom was absolutely silent as she spoke. Some people were crying. The judge himself had tears in his eyes. But wait, can you guess what happened when Essie finished? The entire courtroom erupted in applause. Stay with Story Sphere to find out why. The judge had to bang his gavel to restore order. Amma's lawyer tried to defend her. He said she was having mental problems. He said she did not know what she was doing. He said she was under stress and made a terrible mistake. But nobody believed him. The evidence was too strong. The messages on Amma's phone proved they had been planning this for months. This was not a mistake. This was not mental illness. This was calculated, premeditated, attempted murder driven by greed and lust. Kwame also tried to defend himself. He claimed he knew nothing about the poison. He said Amma acted alone. He said he was just her boyfriend and had no part in the murder plan. But his own phone messages betrayed him. The prosecutor showed messages where he and Amma discussed getting rid of Kofi. Messages where they talked about being rich together. Messages where they planned their future after Kofi was dead. The jury saw through his lies easily. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Finally, it was time for the verdict. The judge asked the jury if they had reached a decision. The head juror stood up. He was an old man with white hair and a serious face. "Yes, Your Honor. We have reached a verdict." The courtroom became so quiet you could hear people breathing. Everyone leaned forward. Amma closed her eyes. Her hands gripped the edge of the defendant's box until her knuckles turned white. "On the charge of attempted murder, how do you find the defendant, Amma?" The head juror looked straight at Amma. "Guilty, Your Honor. We find the defendant guilty of attempted murder." The courtroom exploded with noise. People shouted and clapped. Kofi sat in the front row with tears running down his face. Not tears of joy, tears of sorrow. The woman he had loved for 10 years was now a convicted criminal. His marriage was truly over. The judge banged his gavel. "Order. Order in this court." When the room was quiet again, the judge turned to Amma. "You have been found guilty of attempting to murder your husband by poison. This is one of the most heinous crimes a person can commit. You betrayed the sacred trust of marriage. You repaid kindness with cruelty. You repaid love with murder. You do not deserve mercy. I hereby sentence you to 25 years in prison with no possibility of parole for 15 years. Amma screamed, "No, please! No, not 25 years. I will be an old woman when I come out. Please, Your Honor, have mercy. I made a mistake. I am sorry." But the judge was unmoved. "You showed no mercy when you poured poison into your husband's tea. You will receive no mercy from this court. Take her away." The police officers grabbed Amma's arms and dragged her out. Her screams echoed through the hallways. It was over. Justice was served. Next, the jury found him guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Like Amma, he screamed and begged and pleaded. But the judge showed no sympathy. "You were willing to help murder an innocent man for money. You are just as guilty as the woman who poured the poison. 20 years is what you deserve. Take him away." Kwame was led out in handcuffs, his expensive suit wrinkled and his face covered in tears. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded Kofi. "Mr. Kofi, how do you feel about the verdict? Are you satisfied with the sentences? What will you do now?" Kofi held up his hand for silence. "Today, justice was served. The people who tried to kill me will spend many years in prison thinking about what they did. But I take no joy in this. I lost my wife. My marriage is destroyed. My trust is broken. I will need time to heal from this betrayal." The reporters then tried to reach Essie, but Kofi's security team protected her. They escorted her to a car and drove her away before anyone could ask her questions. Kofi had promised to protect Essie from the circus of publicity. She had done her duty by testifying in court. Now she deserved to return to her quiet life. She deserved peace. That was the least Kofi could do for the woman who saved his life. Back at the mansion, life slowly began to return to normal. But it was a different kind of normal. The house felt empty without Alma. Even though she had been an evil presence, Kofi walked through the rooms remembering the past 10 years. All the memories were now tainted with the knowledge that his wife had never truly loved him. She had been playing a role, waiting for her chance to strike. It was a painful realization. Kofi called Essie to his office one evening. "Sit down, Essie. I want to talk to you." Essie sat nervously. Was she in trouble? Had she done something wrong? But Kofi smiled at her kindly. "Essie, you saved my life. How can I ever repay you? What can I give you that would be enough? Tell me what you want. Anything at all. Whatever you need, I will provide it. Just name it." Essie thought carefully before answering. "Master Kofi, I do not need anything for myself, but my mother is still very sick. She needs medicine and treatment. If you could help with her medical bills, that would be more than enough. That is all I want." Kofi's heart swelled with emotion. Here was a woman who saved a billionaire's life. And all she asked for was medicine for her mother. She did not ask for money, cars, houses, or jewelry. Just medicine for her sick mother. Such pure goodness. "Essie, listen to me carefully. I will do more than just pay for your mother's medicine. I will bring your mother here to the city. She will stay in the best private hospital. She will have the best doctors. She will get every treatment she needs until she is completely healthy, and you will not worry about money ever again. I am going to give you enough money to build a house in your village. A big, beautiful house for you and your family." Essie's eyes went wide with shock. "Master, that is too much. I cannot accept so much. I was just doing what was right. I do not deserve all of this." But Kofi shook his head firmly. "You deserve this and more. You risked everything for me. You could have stayed silent and kept your job safely, but you chose to speak up even though you might have lost everything. That kind of courage deserves to be rewarded greatly." "But there is more," Kofi continued. "I am also going to send you to school. You told me once that you never finished your education because your family was too poor. That ends now. You will go to the best schools. You will study whatever you want. I will pay for everything. Your fees, your books, your uniform, everything. You will get the education you deserve, and you will still work here, but only part-time while you study." Essie burst into tears. She fell to her knees in front of Kofi. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. You have changed my life. You have given me hope. You have given my mother a chance to live. May God bless you abundantly. May you have peace and happiness after all you have suffered." Kofi helped her stand up. "No, Essie, you changed my life. You saved my life. This is the least I can do." True to his word, Kofi arranged everything. Within a week, Essie's mother was brought to the city in a private ambulance. She was admitted to the finest private hospital. A team of specialist doctors examined her. They started treatment immediately. The sickness that had been slowly killing her for years was finally being fought properly. Within a month, her health began to improve. She was going to survive. She was going to be okay. When Essie's mother was strong enough to have visitors, Essie brought Kofi to meet her. The old woman held Kofi's hands and cried, "Thank you, sir. Thank you for saving my daughter's life by giving her a job. Thank you for saving your own life by believing her. Thank you for being a good man in a world full of evil. My daughter told me everything. You are a blessing to our family. We will never forget your kindness." Kofi was touched by the old woman's words. "Your daughter is the blessing, Mama. She has a heart of pure gold. You raised her well. She knows right from wrong. She has courage and integrity. Those are rare qualities. You should be very proud of her." The old woman smiled through her tears. "I am proud, very proud. God gave me a good daughter, and now God has given her a good master who appreciates her." Kofi enrolled Essie in a good private school. On her first day, he drove her there himself. Essie wore a new school uniform. She carried new books and pens in a new bag. She looked at the big school building with wonder. She had dreamed of this moment for so many years. Now it was real. She turned to Kofi with tears of joy. "I will study hard, sir. I will make you proud. I promise." Essie was not the youngest student in the school. She was older than most of her classmates because she had started late, but she did not care. She was just happy to be there. The other students soon learned about her story. The maid who saved the billionaire was famous all over the country. At first, some students stared at her, but Essie's humble nature and hard work won everyone over. She made many friends. She was loved and respected. Essie proved to be an excellent student. She topped her class in almost every subject. Her teachers were amazed by her intelligence and dedication. She would wake up at 4 in the morning to study before going to work part-time at Kofi's house. She never missed a class. She never missed an assignment. She was determined to make the most of this opportunity that had been given to her. Education was precious. She would not waste it. Meanwhile, Kofi began the process of healing from the betrayal. It was not easy. Some nights he could not sleep. He kept thinking about how close he had come to death. He kept remembering the good times with Alma and wondering if any of it had been real. Had she ever loved him even a little, or had it all been an act from the very beginning? These questions haunted him. Kofi started going to therapy. His therapist was a kind woman named Dr. Abina. She helped him work through his feelings of betrayal, anger, and sadness. She taught him that what happened was not his fault. She taught him that some people are just evil, and no amount of kindness can change them. She taught him to forgive himself for not seeing the signs earlier. Slowly, with her help, Kofi began to heal emotionally. Kofi also threw himself into his work in charity. He started a foundation to help poor children go to school. He named it the Essie Foundation in honor of the maid who saved his life. The foundation paid school fees for thousands of children from poor families. It built schools in villages that had none. It provided uniforms, books, and meals to students who could not afford them. Kofi found purpose and joy in helping others. 1 year after the trial, Kofi received a letter. It was from Alma in prison. She wrote that she was deeply sorry for everything. She said prison had changed her. She had a lot of time to think about her life and her choices. She realized how foolish and evil she had been. She did not expect forgiveness. She just wanted Kofi to know that she regretted everything. She wished she could turn back time and be a better wife. Kofi read the letter several times. He felt a mixture of emotions. Part of him was still angry. Part of him was sad. Part of him wondered if her words were sincere or just another manipulation. He talked to Dr. Abina about it. She asked him what he wanted to do. Did he want to respond? Did he want to visit her? Did he want to forgive her? Kofi thought long and hard about these questions. Finally, Kofi decided to write back. He wrote that he forgave Amma for his own peace of mind, not for her sake. He forgave her so he could let go of the anger and bitterness. He forgave her so he could move on with his life. But he also wrote that forgiveness did not mean he would ever forget what she did. It did not mean he wanted her back in his life. She would serve her sentence. He would live his life. Their paths would never cross again. 3 years passed. Essie graduated from secondary school with the highest grades in her entire class. At the graduation ceremony, she was called to the stage to receive a special award for Best Student. The whole school stood and clapped for her. Kofi was sitting in the front row clapping the loudest. He was so proud of her. She had come so far from the scared village girl who first arrived at his house. She had bloomed into a confident, educated young woman. After secondary school, Essie got admitted to the university. She decided to study business management. She wanted to learn how to run companies and organizations. She dreamed of one day running the Essie Foundation that Kofi had started in her honor. She wanted to help even more children get education. She wanted to give back to people the way Kofi had given to her. Her dreams were big now. Education had opened up her world. At university, Essie continued to excel. She made the dean's list every semester. She participated in student leadership. She volunteered in community service programs. She became a role model for other young women from poor backgrounds. She gave talks at schools encouraging students to work hard and be brave. She told her story of how speaking up and doing right changed her entire life. Her story inspired thousands of people. Kofi watched Essie grow and succeed with great joy. She was like a daughter to him now. He had never had children with Amma. Maybe that was a blessing. At least no innocent children had to suffer through the pain of their mother being a criminal. Instead, Kofi poured his fatherly love into Essie. He attended her school events. He advised her when she faced challenges. He celebrated her victories. She filled the emptiness in his heart. Essie's mother made a full recovery from her illness. The treatments at the private hospital worked. She became healthy and strong again. Kofi built her a beautiful house in the village, just as he had promised. The house had electricity, running water, and modern furniture. It was the finest house in the entire village. Essie's mother became a person of respect in the village. She told everyone about her wonderful daughter and the kind billionaire who helped them. For years after the trial, Essie graduated from university with honors. The graduation ceremony was grand. The vice president of the country was the guest speaker. When Essie's name was called as the valedictorian of her class, the entire auditorium erupted in cheers. Everyone knew her story. From maid to hero to university graduate. It was a story that gave hope to every poor person in the country. If Essie could do it, maybe they could too. After graduation, Kofi offered Essie a job as a manager in one of his companies. Essie accepted gratefully. She started at the company and quickly proved herself. She was smart, hardworking, and honest. She treated everyone with respect, whether they were the janitor or the director. She remembered where she came from. She never forgot that she had once been the maid cleaning floors. That humility made her a great leader. Within 2 years, Essie was promoted to senior manager. She was now in charge of an entire department. She earned a good salary. She sent money back to her village to help her extended family. She sponsored several children to go to school. She was doing for others what Kofi had done for her. The cycle of kindness continued. One good deed created many more good deeds. That is how goodness multiplies in the world. Meanwhile, in prison, Amma's life was very different. Prison was hard, very hard. She shared a small cell with 5 other women. They slept on thin mattresses on a concrete floor. The food was terrible. The days were long and boring. There was no luxury, no jewelry, no expensive clothes, just a rough prison uniform and basic meals. This was the life her greed had brought her to. This was the consequence of her evil choices. At first, Alma was angry and bitter. She blamed everyone except herself. She blamed Essie for exposing her. She blamed Kofi for not forgiving her. She blamed the judge for giving her such a long sentence. She blamed Kwame for being weak and getting caught. She blamed the world for being unfair. But as years passed, the anger gave way to regret. Deep, painful regret that ate at her every single day. Alma thought about Kofi constantly. She remembered how good he had been to her, how he had given her everything, how he had loved her genuinely, and how she had repaid his love with poison and betrayal. She thought about the life she could have had if she had just been grateful and faithful. She could have been living in luxury, loved and respected. Instead, she was in prison, hated, and alone. Her greed had destroyed everything. Kwame also suffered in prison. He was in a men's facility with hardened criminals. He was not tough like them. He had been a smooth-talking lover, not a fighter. The other prisoners bullied him. They took his food. They made him do their chores. He had thought he would be rich and living abroad with Alma's money. Instead, he was a prisoner doing other men's laundry. His life had become a nightmare. He regretted everything. Every conversation, every plan, every evil thought. 5 years into their sentences, Alma and Kwame were allowed visits. But nobody came to see them. Alma's family had disowned her. They were ashamed of what she did. Her friends who had flocked around her when she was rich disappeared when she went to prison. Rich people do not visit their friends in jail. Kwame's family also abandoned him. He had no visitors, no letters, no phone calls. Both of them were completely alone. That was perhaps the worst punishment of all. Back in the free world, Essie met a young man named Kojo. He was a teacher at a school in her village. He was kind, humble, and hardworking. He loved children and dedicated his life to educating them. When Essie went home to visit her mother, she met Kojo at a community event. They talked and found they had much in common. Both valued education. Both wanted to help their community. Both believed in living with integrity and honesty. Kojo and Essie started courting. Kojo was not intimidated by Essie's success. He was proud of her. He admired her courage and her achievements. He loved her for who she was, not for her money or connections. Essie appreciated this. After seeing what greed did to Alma and Kwame, Essie valued genuine love above everything. Kojo's love was real, simple, and pure and true. That was worth more than all the gold in the world. After courting for 1 year, Kojo asked Essie to marry him. He did not have an expensive ring. He could not afford one on a teacher's salary. Instead, he made her a ring from wire and beads. It was simple and beautiful. Essie cried tears of joy when he proposed. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I will marry you." She did not need diamonds. She needed a good man with a good heart. And that was exactly what Kojo was. When Essie told Kofi about her engagement, he was very happy for her. He gave his blessing immediately. He had met Kojo and liked him very much. "This is a good man," Kofi told Essie. "He loves you for the right reasons. He will treat you well. You deserve this happiness after everything you have been through. I am so proud of you." Kofi then offered to pay for the entire wedding. "Let me do this for you. You are like my daughter." The wedding was beautiful. It was held in Essie's village, so all her family and friends could attend. Kofi came with a convoy of cars. He brought gifts for the whole village. He danced and celebrated with everyone. Essie wore a gorgeous wedding dress that Kofi had bought for her. She looked like a queen, but more importantly, she looked happy. Truly, deeply happy. The smile on her face was genuine. This was real love. This was real joy. At the wedding reception, Kofi gave a speech that made everyone cry. He told the story of how Essie saved his life. He talked about her courage and integrity. He said, "I was once rich but poor in spirit because I was surrounded by fake people who only wanted my money. Then God sent me an angel in the form of a poor village girl. She showed me what real goodness looks like. She saved my life and taught me the meaning of true character." Kofi continued his speech. "Today, I am not just celebrating Essie's wedding. I am celebrating everything she represents. Courage over fear, truth over silence, good over evil. She could have stayed quiet and kept her job, but she chose to speak up and risk everything. That decision changed both our lives. Mine was saved. Hers was transformed. If everyone in the world was as brave and honest as Essie, the world would be a paradise." There was not a dry eye in the crowd. Even the old men who rarely cried were wiping tears from their faces. Essie's mother stood up and added her own words. "My daughter made me proud the day she spoke up to save Master Kofi. I taught her to always do right even when it is hard. I did not know that lesson would save a man's life. I did not know it would bring such blessings. But God sees everything. God rewards goodness. Look at my daughter now. From poverty to success. From nobody to hero. All because she chose to do right." The wedding celebration lasted 3 days. The whole village ate and drank and danced. Kofi made sure there was plenty of food and drinks for everyone. He wanted Essie to have the wedding of her dreams. She deserved it. After everything she had been through, after all the courage she had shown, she deserved every bit of happiness. Her wedding day was perfect in every way. A day she would remember with joy for the rest of her life. Essie and Kojo moved into a new house that Kofi had built for them as a wedding present. It was a beautiful, modern house with everything they needed. Kojo continued teaching at the village school. Essie traveled to the city every week to work at Kofi's company and to run the Essie Foundation. On weekends, she and Kojo volunteered together, teaching children in their community. They were happy. Their love grew stronger every day. They were building a good life together. 1 year after the wedding, Essie gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Akua. When Kofi heard the news, he drove immediately to the village. He held baby Akua in his arms, and tears fell on her tiny face. "This is what life is about," he said. "New life, new hope, new beginnings. This innocent baby represents the future. A future built on the courage and goodness of her mother. Akua will grow up hearing stories of her mother's bravery. She will learn to be brave, too." Kofi became like a grandfather to baby Akua. He showered her with love and gifts. He visited often. He played with her. He sang to her. He found joy in her laughter. His heart, which had been broken by Amma's betrayal, was slowly healing through the love of this new family. Essie, Kojo, and baby Akua filled the void that Amma had left. They gave him something Amma never did. Real love, genuine care, true family. 8 years after the trial, Amma was eligible for parole. She had served a third of her sentence and could apply to be released early for good behavior. She filled out all the forms. She appeared before the parole board. She told them she was a changed woman. She said she was deeply sorry for her crime. She promised she would never hurt anyone again. The parole board considered her case carefully. But there was a problem. For parole, prisoners needed someone to sponsor them on the outside, someone to provide housing and help them reintegrate into society. Amma had no one. Her family refused to help. Her old friends wanted nothing to do with her. She had no home to go to, No job waiting for her, nothing. The parole board denied her request. She would have to serve more time until she could prove she had a support system outside. Kwame also applied for parole and faced the same problem. No family, no friends. No one wanted an attempted murderer living with him. His parole was also denied. Both Amma and Kwame would remain in prison for several more years. They had burned every bridge, destroyed every relationship. Their greed had not only cost them their freedom, it had cost them everything and everyone they ever knew. They were completely alone in the world. 10 years after the trial, a journalist wanted to do a documentary about the case. It was called The Cup of Truth: How a Maid Saved a Billionaire. The journalist interviewed Kofi, Essie, Kojo, and many others connected to the story. She even went to the prison to interview Amma and Kwame. Both prisoners agreed, hoping to tell their side of the story, hoping somehow to gain sympathy or understanding from the public. In her interview, Amma looked very different from the beautiful woman who had once turned heads. Prison had aged her. Her face had lines and wrinkles. Her hair was gray. Her eyes were dull. She spoke softly about her regrets. I destroyed my life for money I never got and a man who was not worth it. I had a good husband who loved me. I had everything. But I was blinded by greed. If I could go back, I would change everything. But I cannot. I live with my mistakes every day. Kwame similar. He looked broken and defeated. I was a fool, he said. I let a woman convince me to help murder her husband. I thought I would be rich. Instead, I lost my youth in prison. My whole life is gone. I have nothing and no one. When I get out, I will be an old man with a criminal record. No one will hire me. No one will trust me. My life is over before it really began. The documentary aired on national television. Millions of people watched it. The story captivated the nation all over again. People discussed it in homes, churches, schools, and workplaces. The lessons were clear. Greed destroys. Betrayal has consequences. Evil does not pay, but also courage saves. Truth wins. Good people are rewarded. The story had villains and heroes. It showed the full range of human nature from the worst to the best. After the documentary, Essie became even more famous. She was invited to speak at conferences and events all over the country. She spoke to women's groups about courage. She spoke to young people about integrity. She spoke to business leaders about ethical leadership. Everywhere she went, people were inspired by her story. She became a symbol of hope. Proof that one brave act can change everything. Proof that doing right matters. Essie also wrote a book about her experience. She called it The Scream That Changed Everything. In the book, she detailed her journey from poor village girl to hero. She wrote about the fear she felt, the choice she made, the consequences that followed. She wrote about learning that silence in the face of evil makes you part of the evil. She wrote about the importance of speaking up even when your voice shakes. The book became a bestseller. Schools across the country added Essie's book to their curriculum. Students studied her story as an example of moral courage. Teachers used her life to teach lessons about integrity, bravery, and doing what is right. Essie's name became synonymous with heroism. Parents named their daughters after her. She had become a legend, a real-life hero whose courage saved a life and inspired a nation. 15 years after the attempted murder, Amma was finally released from prison. She had served her minimum sentence. She was now 52 years old. When she walked out of prison gates, no one was there to meet her. No family, no friends, nobody. She was given a small amount of money and released into the world. She stood outside the prison, confused and alone. Where would she go? What would she do? She had no idea. Amma made her way back to her family village. It was the only place she could think to go. But when she arrived, people stared at her with cold eyes. Everyone knew what she had done. She was the woman who tried to poison her husband, the woman who brought shame to her family. Her own relatives did not want to see her. They gave her a small room in a broken-down house at the edge of the village, but they made it clear she was not welcome. Alma tried to find work, but no one would hire her. Who wants to employ a convicted attempted murderer? She tried to make friends, but no one trusted her. She lived alone, eating simple food and wearing old clothes. The woman who once wore diamonds now owned nothing. The woman who once lived in a mansion now lived in a shack. Her life had become exactly what she tried to avoid. Poverty, loneliness. Alma sat alone in her small, broken room at the edge of the village. The roof leaked when it rained. The floor was bare earth. Rats squeaked in the corners at night. Her once smooth hands were now rough and callous from fetching firewood and washing clothes for coins. She had traded luxury for loneliness, gold for dust, comfort for shame. Every morning she walked past the villagers on her way to the market. Some stared, some whispered, others simply turned away. The children called her the poison woman. The adults used her story to warn their daughters. "Do not be like her," they would say. "Greed will destroy you the way it destroyed Alma." Alma no longer argued. She could not defend herself. Every word they spoke was true. In her quiet moments, she thought about Kofi, how kind he had been, how patient, how forgiving, even after she betrayed him. Sometimes she imagined him laughing again, surrounded by good people. And she whispered, "I hope you found peace, Kofi. I hope you found joy where I lost mine." Years passed. Her hair turned completely gray. Her beauty, once the envy of the city, was gone. But something else grew inside her. Something that had never existed before. Wisdom. The kind that comes only through suffering. One evening, as Alma sat outside her small house watching the sunset, she saw a group of young girls walking home from the stream. They were laughing carefree. One of them stopped to rest near her. The girl looked hungry and tired. Alma offered her a piece of yam she had cooked. The girl smiled shyly and accepted. "What is your name, child?" Alma asked. "My name is Abina," the girl replied. "I want to go to school, but my mother says we cannot afford it." Alma looked at her and felt something deep stir within her chest, a pain mixed with remembrance. Abina's eyes reminded her of Essie's eyes, honest, innocent, and hopeful. The same eyes she had once despised for no reason other than envy. "Do not give up," Alma said softly. "Work hard. Be good. Do not chase money with a wicked heart. Do not betray those who love you. Education and honesty will lift you higher than gold ever will." Abina listened carefully. Those words stayed in her heart. From that day, the children in the village began to visit Alma's small hut after school. They came to hear her talk about choices, about greed, about gratitude. She told them her story without hiding the shame. "I had everything," she would say. "But because I wanted more, I lost everything." Soon people in the village stopped mocking her. They began to say, "She has changed. She is not the same woman who tried to kill her husband. She is a teacher now. A warning that walks on 2 feet." Alma found a strange kind of peace in that redemption. Not through wealth or forgiveness, but through truth. Meanwhile, in the city, Essie and Kojo's lives continued to blossom. Their foundation grew larger each year, helping hundreds of children from poor villages get an education. Kofi's name remained attached to the foundation, not as a symbol of wealth, but as a symbol of second chances. Kofi, now older and grayer, often visited the schools the foundation built. When he stood before the children, his voice was calm and full of wisdom. Once he would tell them, "A young woman saved my life not with power or money, but with courage. She was not rich. She was not educated. But she had something far greater, a heart that feared God and loved truth. The children listened wide-eyed. They all knew the story. They had read Essie's book, The Scream That Changed Everything in their schools. Many of them dreamed of meeting her in person one day. Essie herself had become a mother of 3. Her eldest daughter, Acua, was now 10, bright, bold, and endlessly curious. One day, Acua asked her, "Mama, why do people call you the brave maid?" Essie smiled gently and said, "Because one day I screamed the truth when it would have been easier to stay silent. And that scream changed everything, not only for me, but for many others. Remember this, my daughter. The truth may shake your voice, but it will save your soul." Kojo, standing by the doorway, smiled proudly. "And that," he said, "is the story you must never forget." One Sunday morning, years later, Essie received a letter delivered by hand. It was from an old woman in a nearby village, Alma. Her handwriting was shaky but clear. "Dear Essie, I do not expect you to forgive me, but I must thank you. Because of you, I am still alive to learn from my mistakes. You saved Kofi's life, but you also saved my soul. You gave me the punishment I deserved and the time I needed to understand it. I now spend my days teaching young girls never to walk the path I walked. You were the light that exposed my darkness. May God bless you, my child. Alma." Essie read the letter quietly. Then she folded it carefully and placed it in her Bible. She felt no anger, no bitterness, only peace. "May God forgive her," she whispered, "and may He continue to use every broken life to teach the living." Kofi passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 70. The newspapers wrote, "A great man remembered the billionaire who turned pain into purpose." Thousands attended his funeral, employees, students from the foundation, and villagers whose lives he had touched. Essie stood before the crowd, her eyes filled with tears, but her voice steady. "Master Kofi taught me that wealth is not counted in money, but in mercy. He could have punished me when I burst into his room uninvited that day. But he listened. He believed me. And because he believed, we are all standing here today, alive and inspired. That is the true power of listening to truth." Her voice trembled slightly as she ended with the same words she had written years ago. "Silence in the face of evil makes you part of the evil. But courage, no matter how small, can change the world." The crowd rose to their feet in applause. The wind blew softly, carrying the sound of clapping like a prayer toward the heavens. Greed blinds the heart and poisons the soul. But truth, even when spoken by the smallest voice, can expose every darkness. A lie may shine for a season, but truth shines forever. And the brave are remembered long after the wicked are forgotten. In this world, it is not riches that make a person great, but righteousness. From a scream in a mansion to a legacy that inspires millions, this is the power of one honest act. What about you? What lesson did you learn from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and hit that subscribe button on Storysphere for more incredible true inspired tales. Like, share, and remember, courage changes everything. Thank you for watching Storysphere.